Hey, fellow human beings of the planet Earth, third planet from the sun. Uh, uh, how are you? How's everybody doing? Uh, it is May 28th, 2023. It's in the afternoon, somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock. Maybe just a little bit past 3 o'clock, I'm going to say. You know what? I can't stand being inaccurate about the time. It's almost 4 o'clock. One thing about being a pilot, man, there's some things. Well, you get dialed into the weather and you get dialed into time, the passing of time, and I'll tell you what, man. Those are some of the benefits of being a pilot. You get a little bit obsessive about it, but I almost ran out of gas flying one time. Actually, I had hired an instructor. I hired a pilot and an airplane, so I was not the pilot in command, but we almost ran out of gas. It was partially my fault because I kept on pressuring him, that we didn't have to get gasoline. When we got back on the ground, the ground crew filled up the tanks, and they said, your tanks were empty. They came to the pilot, the CFI that I hired, and they told him, they said, you had about another minute or two of gasoline after we landed. Oh my God. How could that possibly... you think, how can that possibly happen? It just can't. That can't happen. And it did. And the CFI came to me before I left to tell me about it, and he was pissed. He said, I'm never doing that again. Blah, 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 blah. I said, I hear you. Okay, good. That's one of the many times God / Jesus / Muhammad, peace be upon him, Vishnu, Krishna, Buddha, St. Joseph, Mother Teresa, St. Mary, St. Francis, Mahatma Gandhi. Those are the people, the spirits, the body of work by those people that I pray to. Of Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon him, Vishnu, Krishna, Buddha, St. Joseph, Mother Teresa, St. Mary, St. Francis, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, wow, what a guy. I was thinking of watching that movie tonight. We'll see. That guy was amazing, man. And that's the same. That movie came out in '82, I think it was, and it was the same year that The Verdict came out with Paul Newman. And between the two movies, I thought The Verdict should have gotten the Oscar. I think, well, that aside, I believe Paul Newman absolutely should have gotten the Oscar. Although the guy that played Gandhi, I don't know. I guess it was just there was a momentum thing going on there. Man, it's too warm to sit in this car, huh, pup? I think my dog is getting too warm. I'm gonna turn the air on. Be a good idea if I raise the window when the air conditioner is on. There you go. So it's a Sunday, and it's Memorial Day weekend. Tomorrow is my son's 10th birthday. It's his birthday. He's 36. Yeah, 26 years ago. Man, the passage of time is just an amazing thing. 26 years. Yeah. When you look at, the history of the universe, the billions of years that have passed, and the billions and billions and trillions of miles that, span the universe, the 26 years seems like so insignificant. But to me, it was a new life. And it was a new life also, I thought, with somebody that I met. And then within it was about 12 or 13 months after we were dating, she turned on me in a vile and horrible and insulting and humiliating way in a lounge and in a bar where she dumped me and fell in love at first sight with some black guy. And once they hit it off, I was the third wheel, and they both turned on me and started telling me how stupid I was to be worried about things like a DUI, possible DUI, if you kept on drinking. And I just decided, okay, well, this is over, and it was hurtful, but I left, and I left those two together. And then 7 months later, she comes back and says, I want you back. But we would never be intimate again. To me, it's not so much sad as it is ignorant and stupid what she did. She was really offensive. And she'd been telling me all along, like from the time we started dating, that she fell in love with me. And then suddenly she sees this guy in a lounge, falls in love at first sight, and it's over. Okay, I can accept that, but I can't accept the bucket of shit that she threw in my face. Okay, and she did. And she made sure it was, everybody in the bar knew that. She told everybody in the bar that I didn't know anything about love, number one, that's a quote, and then number two, that nobody should think that her and I were married, because we weren't. And you know what I said to myself later? I said, damn right we're not. And I'd been thinking about it, but after, her throwing a bucket of shit in my face that night, we're never getting married. But she wanted to get back with me 7 months later, and she kept on pressuring me. She followed me around. Like after work, I'd go out to a place to relax. Not a happy hour. I never liked happy hours; they're too noisy. But I had a couple places I like to go where I could have just a casual drink, and I got to know a bartender or two. One guy I got to know really good. She'd follow me around after work because I wanted nothing to do with her, and she insisted she was going to be with me. And the rub, or the essence of the matter was, I didn't care about her anymore. And she couldn't grasp, she wouldn't accept that. I kept on saying, we're done. Oh, no, I still love you. I said, I don't care what you feel. I feel nothing for you after what you did. Forget it. It's like that song by the Byrds, I'm gonna feel a whole lot better when you're gone. Well, instantly gone, and then she got dumped after, they both had this sexual fling and everything, and then she thinks I'm gonna welcome her back with open arms. Holy shit! How can she be so fucking stupid? Or ignorant? Or whatever you want, whatever word you want to put on it. Delusion? I don't know. I don't really care. We stay, I'm trying to be a good Christian, and it's just like, my life. I've gone from being insensitive to being, too sensitive, and I'm just looking for a happy medium. And so instead of like just she finally weaseled her way back into my life, but not intimately. And she never understood why we didn't, get together better. And I said, are you kidding? You remember, when you threw a bucket of shit in my face? Well, that's why. And let me tell you, folks, incidents like that, even, when people say, oh, it was so long ago, why do you let that bother you? I don't let anything bother me. It was enough of an offensive thing that, I'm not letting it go. I'll never put it down. And yeah, I forgive. Well, like June Hunt says in her book about forgiveness, yeah, forgive the worst kind of thing that anybody does to you. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be with them or, hang out with them or continue to have something going on with them. No, you can just go and live your own life away from the person that you forgave, and that's what I was doing. But boy, she was like flypaper, man. I couldn't, I'd try to get her off of this hand, and then it'd get stuck on it. I couldn't get rid of her. Put it that way. I don't like being a total it's not being a jerk. It's like, being totally indifferent to somebody that keeps on telling me they want to be with me, and I just like, my career was easily the most important thing in my life, including her. I mean, she was so far. She got fired in 2002, and that was like a defining year for me professionally too. She got fired, and one of the managers came to me to tell me, because he was concerned that I was going to be upset. And I told him, I said, I'm not upset, so what? She doesn't care about the job. I cared a lot about my career at Bell, and I worked at it. And to tell you the truth, I'd never been paid for the diligence and the amount and the dedication of work that I've done until I did as an aerial photographer and as a wedding photographer. Okay, I take that back, but those jobs didn't pay nearly as much. At Bell, I went into this job or this career, and I applied myself, and I even worked extra hours. It was a career, it wasn't a job. And the opportunity was fantastic. But there were people that didn't care. They didn't even want to do the minimums, the minimum requirements. They didn't want to do it, and she didn't. Well, she got fired. And like my manager comes to me, he says, well, and she was on another team. He said, well, your friend got let go today, and I wanted you to know, and it didn't go well, and blah 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 blah, and she's leaving. They're kicking her out today, and I wanted you to know because this, you might be upset. And I said, I'm not upset. I'm not. I could care less. I'll walk her out and walk her to her car, and she can go home. I don't give a damn. And I didn't. She never got that. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know. I kind of understand. I know kind of what happened to her, but when she dumped me for this guy at the spur of the moment, and then she dumped me in a way where she wanted to build herself up by putting me down, and I've experienced that before, so I just I was running a tab and she was ordering on my tab. Oh, but I got that money back. God gave it to me, gave that money back to me last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. It was last year. After, I read all the everything she wrote about that incident, and I just thought, oh God, oh my God, how can I spend time? Well, I needed a place to live, so there were a couple of things that I decided to take advantage of for myself. When Verizon ended my career, I didn't have a place to live, and my money was tight because it had been pouring into my house. But 08 and 09, boy, the wonderful banks that stole our money and raped the taxpayers of this country and slipped out the back door with the bags of billions of dollars they had. I lost my career, and my money had been going into my house. Well, now the house is not worth as much, and I got to sell this house because I can't afford the mortgage. Lucky for me, I built a really good house, and it did sell at the worst possible time for the market. I paid $280 for the house, and now it's worth between $500,000 and $600,000. But that was 20 years ago. That was 19 years ago. So stuff happens, changes. I just, I wanted. I was talking to a couple of friends at church today who have these two kids, a man and his wife, Dave and Meredith Nussbaumer, and they have these two unbelievably cute and beautiful kids. One's 9, a boy, and the other one's 6, a girl, and they are just, they are amazingly cute and wonderful children, and I love taking pictures of them. Anyway, so he told me today they're flying to Seattle this coming weekend to see some family out there. They're going to be out there for a week. I just thought, wow. We never did that with our children. We took them to the shore once or twice, but it didn't have the affectionate energy that this family has. I've had pretty much no success with long-term relationships. Just none. Something goes horribly wrong somewhere along the way. And I thought this last one, okay, there's a possibility. I was thinking about marriage back right before this incident happened, and then she throws a bucket of shit in my face, and she doesn't understand why I don't want her back. This will be the end of the video. I want to give you a story that my father told me about he and my mother, and a decisive moment very much like the one I'm telling you about with this person. I can't use her name anymore, so I'm gonna call her Fatso. Okay, that's the best I can do. The other names I have for her now are not as nice as that. So she's Fatso. So my father, I'm the only sibling that asked my parents questions about their relationship and stuff like that, and got honest and accurate answers. Oh, I asked my father, because I was interested in the courtship between him and my mother's mother, my grandmother, Bernie. I have an uncle Bernie too, and I had a cousin Bernie, but this was my grandmother, Bernie Witten was her name. And her and my mother were like bonded at the hip, because apparently the father, well, they got a divorce. My grandmother divorced my grandfather, but we don't really know who that was, that grandfather. We can figure. But my father was playing baseball in Ashland, Kentucky, and that's where my mother and her mother were, and they liked to go to baseball games, and so they met at a ball game. Apparently, my father dated my grandmother first. And then my mother, my God, she's unbelievably gorgeous. I mean, wow. In 1920, a lot of women are, but my mother had this incredible beauty, man. It just was like a total knockout. And, but, so the drum beats of war were banging pretty loud at this point. It was like 1939, 1940. Okay, so my father, he got his pilot's license. And I think we might be into 1941 at this point. So my mother was born in 20, so she's 20. And just unbelievably gorgeous. And my father was all over the country. He soloed in Arizona. He was in California. My parents, after the war, they got married in Michigan. But this story, he was assigned to the, what's the big base down in Florida? God, I can't. Everybody knows the name of this place. Pensacola, I think they got a great big Army Air Force base there. Pensacola, it's in the Panhandle of Florida. So he was up in Kentucky or in that area, but he's in the service now. And he's transferred to this, he's a really good pilot. I mean, they recognize pretty quickly that he's a really good pilot. And he'd be a good trainer, a good teacher, teaching others, other guys how to fly. So they assign him to Pensacola as a trainer. And I'm going to say this is like 41. It is 41. It has to be 41. Mid to late 41, before December 7th, but, in that time frame. And they have to drive down to Florida along the East Coast. So remember, there is no interstate. There's no I-95. You're going local roads all the way, and it's brutal. There's no air conditioning in the cars either. So they get down to South Carolina, and they're pulled over by local cops, and you're in trouble if you're pulled over by local cops, because you're guilty, and it's going to cost you money to get out of it. He didn't have the money on him, so the cops put him in jail, and they say, when you come back with $100, send your girlfriend and her mother out to get the money. They need $100. They come back with $100. You're gone. You're done here. But until they come back with the money, you're sitting here in jail. So he's in jail. I'm sorry. It's not funny, but it's incredibly ironic. So he's in jail, and then he tells my mother, Bonnie, he says, you and your mother go get that $100, get back here and get me out of jail. Okay? And she says, okay. So they go, and somehow or another, I think they get the money wired to them. They have $100. Maybe it was a little bit more. It could have been $150. I don't know. Probably, yeah. I think it was like $150, but they had to pay the police $100. So they come back, but my grandmother talks my mother into the idea of leaving my father in jail overnight, and they take the money and go shopping, and then they come back the next day, the next morning, and they get him. And my mother tentatively agrees, or she agrees, but she doesn't feel real good about it. I never talked to my mother about this. Only my father was telling me this story. So she goes back into the jail. She's got the money. She goes back into the jail, and she tells my father, she said, well, my mother wants to go shopping, so we're going to go shopping, and we'll come back and get you out of jail tomorrow morning. And then my father says, you got the money? And she says, yes, but, we'll get you, I promise we're going to come back tomorrow morning and get you out. He goes, if you leave and you go shopping now with that money, don't come back. It's a decisive moment. I had this decisive moment with this jackass, fatso, F-face, rotten, lying, treacherous person. And I should have snapped it clean, and I didn't. And it kills me. Anyway, so my father's telling my mother, he says, yeah, you guys go shopping. Forget about coming back, because you and I are absolutely through if you pull that move. We're done. I'm not bullshitting or joking or kidding. This is no joke. This situation is no joke. But hey, and shopping is so important to you guys, go ahead and take the money. I don't need to see that money, and I don't need to see you again. I'll figure this out. I'll take care of this without you. But we're finished forever and permanently. And my mother thought about it, and she didn't think too long though. She went back and told her mother, we're getting them out now. and man, she had a lifetime on the gravy train as a result of that decision. She never had to work. I never remember her ever doing dishes. She cooked a little bit. I don't remember her ever using a vacuum cleaner or cleaning windows or doing any kind of cleaning. She got like a maid to come in once a week. A black maid from downtown Philadelphia came out and cleaned the house, for cash. She didn't do the cleaning. She was on the gravy train, man, for the rest of her life, because she got my dad out of jail with that money. If she doesn't do that, and I know my old man, I know he would have snapped it clean just like I should have. Oh, I got too much of my mother in me, that's for sure. Anyway, not all families are like the Brady Bunch or the Huxtables. There's a lot of really warped and dysfunctional families out there, and it's just a matter of luck and improbable outcome that none of us ever killed each other. Well, we dodged that bullet somehow. Sorry to bring you guys down. It seems like I'm always bringing my audience down. Maybe that's why I don't have much of an audience. It could be. This is a diary, and this is stuff and feelings that I'm having now that I have to manage and deal with. And it's just bizarre. It's a warped, kind of skewed outcome. End of my life. I'm 72 as of 2 days ago. But I've accomplished a few things that I'm really happy about. Number one, I don't have any debt. I don't have any credit card debt. And I feel that is just a wonderful feeling, considering that, when I was getting lined up for this Bell career 26 years ago, at that moment I had $46,000 in credit.